if you've ever felt like putting an HK,
No. Who let you out of your hole?
push me
Who
with
let
a
you out of
bitch.
your hole? Welcome to the channel, guys. If you've ever had to kick one of your employees out of trying to take over your videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Guys, like and comment. The comment section is actually very insane right now, but you know what? That is life. Get in there. Make YouTube regret their decision to have me on the platform. Today, we're going to be talking about a very interesting weapon. We're going to be talking about the Q BoomBox. Now, you've probably seen a lot about the BoomBox, but we have a lot of very interesting examples of this weapon here. We're very excited, but before we get into it, we of course have to thank the biggest sponsor of the channel, who is Primary Arms. If you're looking to get optics, we love them. If you're looking to get everything, they have it all. We can't thank them enough. Whether you want to buy EOTechs, whether you want to buy their own optics, they are incredible. We are a big fan of their PLXs and of their compact series. More specifically, they are amazing. And of course, we cannot forget who, Charles?
Night Vision Network. It's honestly the just best place to just buy nods, dude. You're gonna die.
Night Vision Network, whether you want to buy night vision, whether you want to rent night vision, we cannot recommend them enough. We love them. Go and check them out because you obviously want to be able to visualize men in high thermal fidelity. And of course, we recommend getting good at shooting. The best way to get good at shooting is what, Charles?
Besides actually competing, Mantis for dry fire. It makes it feel like you're part of the game, even though you're not.
What game?
Getting better.
There you have it. Mantis, with their systems, will turn your weapon into a dry fire machine. Can't think of enough. All ammunition sponsored for by AAC. But with all that being said, let's get into the video. All right, guys, getting into this, first thing we want to do is our full disclosure. What is my relationship with Q? Obviously, we have done videos on the Honey Badger and on the Fix and other weapons, such as the new H6 Fix when they came out with it. These weapons were provided to me in order to do a review. That being said, there was no exchange of money or funds or anything like that. I do talk to Kevin Bradingham, who is the owner, and I do talk to the engineers, the employees of Q. This is a part of the review process. I'm always going to be completely non-biased to give my honest opinion on this stuff. In some cases, we'll be talking about prototypes, in which case it'll be more of an overview. However, we're going to be talking about the BoomBox and our thoughts on it. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. We did a bunch of drills with the BoomBox. Before we do it, let's talk about what it is. The BoomBox is a extremely lightweight, compact 8.6 semi-automatic rifle that is just incredible in many ways. There's a lot of engineering that goes into it, but more importantly, just like the Honey Badger, the BoomBox pushes the direction of the rifle in a certain direction. This is to be as lightweight as possible, to be as manageable as possible, running from supers to subs. And it's for this reason that I've always found Q products to be fairly innovative and very interesting. So let's go ahead, let's go to the range, let's show you guys some shooting, and then we'll get back to my favorite portion, the autistic talking.
So right here in his hand, we have a 5.56. John also takes a lot of caffeine, so he can't stop shaking. And then we have our 8.6 projectile, which is ridiculously large. It's 390 grains, 342. It's a lot of grain it should be firing out. We're firing subs. Now we're gonna run some drills. We're gonna be testing the recoil control, the lightness and portability of the BoomBox, and we'll be giving you our unbiased thoughts. We have John, who hopefully can beat me. What's gonna happen if you don't beat me?
I think I'm gonna have to farmers carry a bunch of heavy shit, probably.
Not in the military anymore, John. We don't have to do that. All right, John loses. He puts front ends in his bio, vice versa. We're gonna start with the build drill. 7 yards, 6 rounds, A zone, and anything outside of the A zone is, let's say, 0.2 for the penalty. Yeah, okay. John just got out of the Army. How do you feel?
Terrible.
Okay, well, hopefully we can pick you up a little bit. Okay, start low ready, aiming at the base of the target. All right, shooter ready, stand by. Yeah. 125. Line break, still alpha. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, it still counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I felt that last one too. That was fast.
Yeah, really good.
That's good. There's a little bit of stutter on there, so we'll say I suck. Nice, good shooting. 130. That's good. First shot was at 0.46. Nice. Well, you still lost, John, but it was really close. So, what pronouns do you want in your bio?
It wasn't they, them. I heard they got custom leather interior.
Whoa. So what we're going to be showing here is 222 drill. We're showing how quickly, because of the portability and smallness of the weapon, that you can transition between targets. This is the only transition that we endorse here on Grantho. 2-0. Right. A's crossed. Okay, here you are, John. Nice. I don't think it picked up your shots. But that was fast. That was faster than me. Good job.
Probably like a high 2. Something like that.
Nah, dude, I think you're lower than me. I think John won that one. Next up, we're going to demonstrate one of the great things about 8.6 is like 300 Blackout, except much more powerful and deadly. You have the ability to fire supersonics and subsonics. Now, a lot of rifles are adjustable, where you can adjust the gas block to whatever you need. You can get it nice and light on the recoil. The problem can be is that it will run one, but not the other. So the BoomBox, much like the Honey Badger, can run both supers and subs with not a whole lot of change in recoil. So right here, we have a magazine that's a mix of supers and subs. You're going to be able to hear the difference, but we wanted to show that at random, it can cycle either. That was super fun. It was that just one and the other, John? I had no idea what it was going to be. It was actually pretty fun. Just like, now, right here, we have a gel block. We've done videos on the deadliness of 8.6, but we're going to show you again what a subsonic will do through it, and it best be described as violent. Look at the cavity to like catch flesh. That looks ridiculous. All right, try it out. Ready?
Ready.
So when I shot it, there was like an explosion, and you could see how insane that looks. Go ahead and get a good look at that. Next up, we have a supersonic expanding round. We'll see how that goes. Well, we killed her table. But check this out. So the round was so violent, you could see all these copper-jacketed pieces that just exploded about, I'd say about 6 inches into the body and then traveled for about another 3 to 5. That's excessively violent. I wouldn't want to get shot by that. Great performance, like we know from the 8.6. So with all that being said, let's go back to the studio. Let's break this down. Let's do my favorite autistic portion. Let's talk about it.
So we've done a bunch of drills, we've done a bunch of shooting. Let's go ahead, let's talk about this weapon. Let's talk about what makes it so interesting, or perhaps so good in many ways. Now, my time on the BoomBox has been somewhat limited. I don't have nearly as many rounds as I have on other weapons. So when it comes to the longevity of the weapon, this is something that's going to be evaluated over a longer period of time as I get my hands on my own BoomBox. But from our experience, due to 8.6, well, in our case, 8.6 being a subsonic and a supersonic round, I'm primarily firing subsonic rounds. Because of this, the wear on the parts is fairly minimal, the wear on the barrel is fairly minimal, and much like the 300 Blackout in shooting that guy, which is also a subsonic or primarily firing subsonic rounds, you have a barrel that will last for a very long time, and I seem to be seeing the same thing with our 8.6 Blackout weapons. With all that being said, let's do what we do best. Let's go tip to butt, go down through the weapon, and talk about what makes it so good. Now, we do have several versions here. So right here, we have the 8-inch variant of the BoomBox. This one will be released fairly shortly, maybe even by the time the video is released, probably not, but fairly soon it will be released with a pistol brace, so it will be a quote-unquote pistol. ATF's like watching this very, very intently right now. Of course, right here, we have the 12-inch variant, which is the variant that is currently available. In each case, we have a short chop suppressor on both of these, one of my favorite suppressors from Q to be mated up to the BoomBox. And then we also have a prototype version of the BoomBox, which is the SD version, which is probably one of the coolest versions, but it won't be released for a little bit. They are still in development on this, but nonetheless, we will be talking about it. Okay, going into this, we're going to be talking about the short chop first. the Q suppressors. Always been a fan of Q suppressors. You have a lot of volume, you have really good tone. If you want to see more about kind of delving into how the suppressors are working, I'm always a big fan of PewScience and their breakdowns of suppressors. But suffice to say, we do have a stainless steel suppressor. It is able to be as lightweight as comparable titanium suppressors due to the technology that they're using as far as keeping the walls thin and keeping the performance high. With these subsonic rounds, it performs very well. It's hard to truly appreciate how quiet a subsonic 8.6 is until you're there firing it. There's something about that .338 caliber or 8.6 caliber that just lends itself to good suppression. Even compared to 300 Blackout, they sound just about the same, which is pretty incredible, especially when you consider the size of the slug, 340 grains, even more perhaps. These are large rounds being fired rapidly. So when it comes to the application of the BoomBox, what we're talking about is a weapon that is used in close quarters primarily. So I'm talking about 300 and in. Obviously, with supersonics, with good holds, you can make much larger shots. In fact, these have regularly taken animals in Africa out to 500. That's a total Kevin Birmingham thing. He loves hunting in Africa. But as far as using it, I would say in a more combat application, due to the rainbow trajectory of a subsonic round, you're really looking at something that's going to be 300, 200 and in. And it's, in my mind, a direct competitor to both the MP5 SD as well as other 300 Black subsonic guns, such as the Honey Badger. The reason it came about is 300 Black is doesn't always perform the best. Subsonics rely on the ability of the round to be extremely vicious due to the fact that they're not going above approximately, depending on the atmospherics, about 1,100 feet per second, which is the speed of sound. That means that the way to make it work better is either a larger bullet, better ballistics with design of the round. In the case of the 8.6, you have both a very fast spinning round. The barrel itself has a 1 in 3 twist, and the subsonic rounds exit at around 240, 250,000 rotations. That is ridiculously fast. So combine that spin with the large 340 grain projectile with some very interesting new projectile technology, and you have a very, very vicious round. And I think that's one of the great things about the 8.6. Obviously, you do have a reduced capacity, you have more weight that you're carrying, but if you have to kill somebody quietly, you have to kill something quietly, God knows what you're doing. Probably just killing paper. All of us, really. 8.6 can definitely do it. Now, moving back from the suppressor, when it comes to the muzzle devices and the suppressors, they're all using a taper technology. Now, taper has really taken off recently. You see a lot of companies adopting it, and the reason for that is it's extremely effective. You can see this one right here has been shot quite a bit, and yet you can see where the taper is, it is completely clean. And if you go back to the threads, which is where the suppressor mates up, very, very clean. This is what you want. It makes it easy to take on and off, but it remains in place while you're firing. Q is the kind of the originator of the taper. Of course, there are other experiments with it, but I'd say large-scale production was definitely Q. Now, moving back to the barrel right here, we do have a stainless barrel. So whether it be a 12-inch barrel, the 8-inch barrel, or the 6-inch barrel of the SD variant right here, these are all perfectly long enough to stabilize the 8.6. Much like the 300 Blackout, you really don't need a lot of barrel length in order to stabilize that projectile. That allows you to have a very compact package, especially when you look at the recoil system and what Q is actually using. It's innovative, it's simple, and it keeps the gun lightweight. And everything about the BoomBox, about a lot of their technology, is on keeping these as lightweight as possible. Now, this video is sponsored by 100 Concepts. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, what is 100 Concepts? Well, 100 Concepts is something we've loved for a long time. They offer scope caps. Now, in today's world, one, you should always have a scope cap because you need to be able to protect your optic from the elements, but more importantly, it's more important than ever to make sure that you are covering the front and the back of your optics, because there is actually technology that is now designed to spot you via the reflection off of your optics. So we love 100 Concepts. They are very simple. So right here we have our rear cap that we can pop up, put it back into place when weather comes in, when we're not using it. At the front right here, you have the option of doing the straight cap, or you can flip it up and we have a kill flash up front. They also make them for lights and for everything you could possibly want. In addition, they're also making scrims for helmets and packs. Now, 100 Concepts is something that we have used, I also used in my time in the military, that my buddies use in the military, and that we've used on the channel for a long time. So we're very thankful that they have decided to allow us to do an ad for them. So big thank you to 100 Concepts. Go and get yourself some scope caps. You should have them on all of your optics. Ladies and gentlemen, enough on scope caps. Let's get back to some BoomBox. Moving back to the barrel, we have a stainless barrel, which is going to last a long time. Now, moving back, I want to talk a little bit about the gas system. The problem with going from supersonic rounds to subsonic rounds is you need really good gas management. So, especially on a direct impingement type gun, so something like the AR-15, the AR-10, you need to be able to seal that up well. In your traditional AR-15, AR-10 pattern rifles, you have a lot of gas leakage. You're not able to precisely regulate the speed of that bolt carrier, how much energy is being imparted into it to make sure that it's going to reliably function. This is the reason they came up with this design. Now, this is very similar to what you see from SR-15s if you're familiar with the Knight's Armament rifles. But essentially what you have is you have a shoulder here just in front of the gas block. The gas block goes up against it. You have a nut that tightens it up against that shoulder. So you have a completely sealed system right there around the gas port itself. From there, if you notice, our gas tube is straight. And in addition to that, there are threaded portions right up here up front to ensure that it's going to be completely sealed again. So you don't have that gas leakage. Because of that, they can make this work very reliable. They can make this work very reliably with both your supers and your subs. Now, moving from the gas system, we do have the handguard. The handguard is very lightweight. Now, the first question is always, is it M-LOK? No, it is a different system. There are always some problems with the M-LOK, primarily in the amount of force that you're able to impart upon them before you have it warp, bend, break in some way. So on these handguards, what we have are steel inserts with threaded portions to be able to attach different Picatinny sections or to attach accessories that can be direct mounted. This is similar in many ways to Geisley with their HK type system. I believe it's the SMR, which has been in practice. So this is no different, and it's a very good system. And in addition to that, if you notice here at the top, we have that top section for that top rail. So when it comes to our top rail, you can see that we have the same sections on top of the upper receiver. Together, what you get is you get a completely continuous, very sturdy lockup on the top rail right here, which allows you to mount the optics wherever you need. Obviously, in the old days with older designs, you could never bridge the upper receiver to the rail because it wasn't steady. This is eliminated with this, in addition to several other things they did on the handguard. But this allows for, forward-mounted knots if that's something you want to do. It allows for different optic positions as well as thermal, night vision. You're not going to have any weird shifts or anything like that. As you can see on the upper receiver, we have threaded portions here and here. And in addition to that, the system for keeping the barrel in place is pinched around it for our barrel nut. What this allows is for a very accurate system. And indeed, these rifles are known to produce between 1 to 2 MOA depending on the ammunition. With good ammunition that's made precisely, you can get sub-MOA with a subsonic round, which is pretty good. No shade on other 8.6 guns we've done like the XCR, but these are definitely more accurate than those particular weapons. So when we have these two mated up, because I very messily put this together, we have both the barrel that's going to get pinched, and we're also going to have the handguard that gets pinched into place and screwed into place. We have a very sturdy platform. So moving from there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk a little bit about the controls, and then we'll go into the bolt carrier group itself. So we have your typical AR-15 controls, very ergonomic. We have our magazine release right side. Then on the left side, we have our typical bolt release, bolt hold open, and that is your basic setup. Some people will complain about ambidextrous. Well, if you're left-handed, learn to shoot right. I'm left-handed. Jeremy Stone, are you left-handed?
I am left-handed.
Do you shoot left-handed?
I certainly do.
That is your problem. I don't have to worry. That is your problem for sure. Now, when it comes to our selector, we do have a radian selector, and rather than doing the 90, they are doing a 70 degree. There's a lot of questions about why not 45, depending on receiver geometry, depending on impacts. 45 isn't actually always the safest angle to use in a safety. The 70 ensures that you're always going to have a good safety engagement, which is really important. I am a big fan of the 70. And obviously on this particular one, we can go from the 70 degree, which you can see is just a little bit short, but it does make it for a very quick throw. And then pushing it over, because that lever's kind of up against your thumb, going over to auto is very, very simple, very easy, so I'm a big fan of that. We do have a Reptilia grip on here. Big fans of Reptilia. They make great stuff. Their trigger, oh, why do I have to do this? Okay, so their trigger is very good, and I hate to tell you the name of it. Even if I had a qualm about the trigger, I had a real problem with it, the name of the trigger is literally the best trigger ever made. So when you want to buy the trigger, it's called, quotations, literally the best trigger ever made. So we're going to do what we always do. We're going to ghost the trigger on the literally the best trigger ever made. This is a total Q thing right here. So we have a little bit of play right there. You can see about 2-ish millimeters play. Going in, pressing into it. Jesus. What was that, like 2.5, 3 pounds? Yeah. Just barely any play. Whew. All right, from the reset, light. It's quick. When I was shooting this, this was a quick trigger to run. I do like it quite a bit. I still do think the best trigger ever made is the Geissele SSAE, but literally the best trigger ever made is a good trigger. That's so stupid to do it. Good job, guys. So trigger is actually wonderful, and in addition to that, there have been troubles with AR-10 variants, specifically in the 8.6, on fitting mil-spec triggers. To be clear, these will fit all mil-spec triggers, so if you want to put something to replace literally the best trigger ever made, you can do that, but then you're replacing literally the best trigger ever made, which is a good trigger. You guys win. You guys win. Moving back from there, we do have the charging handle. So much like other things, a lot of design was done into the charging handle. I think it's easy to look at something like the BoomBox and say, well, it's pretty simple. You take an AR-10, you put 8.6 in it, and everything works. But there's a lot of science and engineering that has to go into it because the round is spinning so fast. The weapon is so lightweight that you have a lot of odd problems, specifically in the torque that you're getting from the round and that spin. Because of this, the charging handle was designed in such a way to ensure that it's not going to come unlatched during firing, because this is a heavy round being launched. If you've ever seen, and if it's a question on, is this really a problem? Merely look at any videos of an MP7 firing full auto. The charging handle constantly comes unlatched and just gives you a little on the nose, which is annoying. On a larger weapon like an AR-10, you don't want that charging handle coming back. So they've designed it with steel inserts. It is designed around the rotation of the weapon. In addition to that, we have that nice little bumper right there, which isn't for gas, but rather is to ensure that it stays locked up. We're going to talk a little bit about the bolt carrier group at this point, because there's some interesting engineering that went into this. Because of the length of the receiver extension here, they're trying to get this thing as small as possible, as we can see right here. So we're not going to have a traditional receiver extension. We're going to try to make this a little bit more compact. This is very reminiscent of the Honey Badger and what they did there, which was a good design and is well proven at this point. So we have our bolt carrier group. Now you'll notice that it's 2 pieces. The reason for this is Q likes using very cool materials, and with a larger bolt carrier group itself, it can be hard to keep consistency, heat treatment, and all of that to a standard that they want. So because of that, we have a 2-piece system right here. We have the bolt carrier group, then we have the bolt. The bolt also is pretty typical of what you see of kind of the design of bolts, where we have dual ejectors, we have extractor with dual extractor springs. These are designs that are reliable. These are designs that are well proven at this point, and I'm happy that they included them to up the reliability of the weapon overall. Like a couple other systems that you've seen on bolt carrier groups, on any type of receiver, buffer, or anything like that, you do have tungsten weights. The idea is for a dead blow. So when the bolt comes forward, you don't get that bolt bounce. It just makes for a smoother operation. Also, in order to add weight for gassing of the weapon to ensure reliability. Bolt carrier group. Moving back here, we do have, of course, our stock. The stock's very interesting right here. You have a nice little position to add a sling with a hook or tie it with paracord, and then we have our collapsible stock. I've always liked the stock, so when you're holding it, it can be a little bit different from your typical AR-15 because your cheek rest is right here. So your position, how you're kind of shouldering the weapon, is slightly different, I've found, than your traditional AR-15. But with all that being said, we kind of get to the end here. The BoomBox is a 5-pound rifle. Q has always pushed things in certain directions, and a lot of their directions have been in making their weapons extremely lightweight, whether that be the Fix, the Honey Badger, the BoomBox right here. And the reason for that is they want something that is easily both concealable, something that's easy to be carried, and they want to always push technology. So the BoomBox is no different. I've always been a big fan of both the Honey Badger and the BoomBox, and I like this design a lot because I'm a bigger fan of 8.6 for that close quarters application than I am of 300 Black. We've always kind of had so-so luck with the ballistics of 300 Black compared to 8.6, which has always been viciously violent in every way that we've shot it. Back there, Jeremy Stone's nodding very violently as well. It's just a violent round. And what's very interesting to me is the recoil that you're getting from the BoomBox. So with an extremely lightweight rifle firing an extremely heavy cartridge, I've always expected a lot of recoil. Now on the Robinson Arms XCR, we had extremely light recoil. That's because we could dial the gas to exactly what we needed. I kind of expected that because this is so much lighter than that weapon that we'd have, an increase in recoil that's comparable, but it feels just like the XCR in terms of the recoil pattern. It's very quick to fire, it's very quick on those follow-up shots, and due to that very quiet nature of the subsonics, you feel like you can really run this thing quite quickly, like we showed you in the intro. We'll show a couple clips here of me shooting.
So I was just letting the gun settle naturally into my shoulder. Very easy to control and to keep on target. Let's see what it looks like at speed. That's fast. That is dummy fast.
But I'm a big fan of the BoomBox. I think it's a very interesting application as far as 8.6. 8.6 is new. This is not me saying you have to buy 8.6, but rather I'm interested in the military applications, I'm interested in the civilian applications, and I'm interested to see where it goes. There's a lot of cartridge development going on right now. You see a lot of upheaval in that market. I think 8.6 is a really interesting step in one of those directions for subsonic calibers. So like many other things, this is definitely something you want to keep your eye on. This is not going to be something where I'm like, you have to buy this, because I still think in most applications your 5.56 and your 6.5 Creeds will work. But one of the great things is that you also have the BoomBox in 6.5 Creedmoor and 308, and you can get it in those as well. So that makes life a little bit easier. I do want to take a moment to talk about their prototype right here, which is the BoomBox SD. So the difference between these two is we do have a shorter barrel, and in addition to that, the suppressor is of a new design, which is very interesting. And I've always liked the idea of the SD because you have the handguard protecting the suppressor, so if I need to rest it on a windowsill or what have you, I'm not going to have that deflection. It's also doing a better job at protecting you from the hot suppressor. And in addition to that, you can get your hand up a little further on the system, because on those really small guns, you got to be pretty close to it. Now, no matter what, anything that you're grabbing right over a suppressor is going to be hot. There's nothing you do about it. You still need a glove. You're still going to deal with that. But I like this design quite a bit. I'm very interested in this. This is still a prototype. It's using different materials in the rear half of the bolt carrier system for the buffer. It's very interesting. So I'm sure you'll see more on this in the future from Q. But overall, it's been a real pleasure to be able to shoot these weapons. And I like them quite a bit. Like anything, what matters most is going to be training. So if you don't have these, don't feel like you're missing out. Get training. Shoot with your weapon. That's what's going to matter. If you're not putting rounds downrange with your guns, then you're not going to be any good. You could have the nicest BoomBox in the world, but if you can't afford ammo, then it's not worth it for you. So again, make smart choices on what's going to work for you. For me, I see a lot of home defense application for myself, so I know this is something I'll probably be investing into in the near future. But train. That's what's going to matter most. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you guys. Tons of more cool things coming. And as always, we've got nothing else for you.